Most people spend decades earning a paycheck, but what happens when that paycheck stops? A client came to me recently worried. He'd saved well, but without a clear income plan, every withdrawal felt like a bit of a gamble. He just wasn't sure if he was spending too much or not enough. And that's the reality, unfortunately, for so many retirees. Without the right plans in place, retirement can feel like a bit of a financial tightrope. But when you get these three plans right, your income, your investments, and your taxes, you create stability, security, and confidence. Hi, I'm Jordan Lehman, the founder and financial planner at True Wealth Retirement Partners. And every day, I help my clients create steady retirement income, invest smart, and pay less in taxes. And I want to share what's working for them so that you can retire with confidence too. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to think about these three plans and why they make all the difference in your retirement. So, the first plan, your retirement income plan, knowing where your paycheck is coming from. Most people think about saving for retirement, but not enough people actually think about how they'll turn that savings into a steady retirement income. And that's a problem because without a clear income plan, retirement can feel like stepping into the unknown with no roadmap. I recently had a client, we'll call her Claire, who came to me with a simple but deeply important question. Jordan, how much can I actually spend in retirement without running out of money? She and her husband had saved diligently. They had a 401k and some investments, they had Social Security, but the uncertainty was keeping her up at night. And she told me, I just don't want to feel like I'm constantly guessing. And that's the key. Retirement confidence comes from clarity. And when you know exactly where your paycheck is coming from, how much you can safely withdraw, and how to structure your savings, you're not just hoping everything works out. You actually have a plan. Now, your retirement income will likely come from two or three sources. Okay. First is Social Security. While reliable, and for many people, it just won't be enough to live on by itself. A second, maybe a pension or fixed income of some kind. They're less common these days, but if you have one, perfect. And then finally, often it's personal savings. This includes things like 401ks, IRAs, and other investments that you've built up over the years. Now, here's the issue. There are two major unknowns in your retirement. You just don't know these things. How long will you live? And you don't know what markets will do. And without a plan that takes these uncontrollables into account, you could either spend too cautiously and miss out on experiences or impact you could have afforded, or you could overspend and risk running out of money too soon. A strong income plan should be dynamic. What do I mean by this? It should adapt as both your life and markets change. Your retirement income plan should be something you're regularly reviewing and updating. So, how should you think about creating a strong income plan? Well, I'd start by asking yourself these four questions, and you can write these down. Number one, am I crystal clear on the amount I want and need to spend over the next year, 3 years, 5 years? Getting clear on your expenses with a realistic view is critical. Number two, do I know how much of my expenses will be covered by my fixed income streams? Think Social Security, your pensions, or your annuities. And then number three, okay, from there, do I know the gap that remains and how much I'll need to withdraw from my investments to meet my income need? And then finally, number four, have you stress tested that withdrawal rate in both good and bad market conditions? And when you have clear answers, by the way, to those questions, you'll no longer need to feel like you're guessing your way through retirement. Instead, you're going to have a structured plan that both supports you today and secures your future, bringing some peace of mind. Now, if you want help thinking through your own income plan, you can actually click the link in the description. I'd love to chat and see if you qualify for our free Tax Smart Retirement Assessment, where we can do a deep dive, not just on your income plan, but the other two plans I'm about to discuss as well. So, plan number 2 is your investment plan. How are you going to think about growing and protecting your wealth? Now, once you retire and start pulling income, your investment plan likely needs to change from when you were focused on accumulation. Remember, in your working years, investing was all about growing your portfolio. But in retirement, yes, overcoming inflation is important, but we also need to make sure we're protecting your wealth, ensuring your money lasts as long as you do, while supporting the income plan you've built so carefully. And yet, everyone seems to have an opinion on how you should invest, whether it's a well meaning friend, a TV pundit, or an internet guru. The problem, most of them simply have no idea what kind of income plan you actually need to support your goals. And your investment plan should be designed around your unique financial needs, not someone else's opinion. And this is why a structured, adaptable approach is so important. Now, how do I think about helping my own clients? Well, we use what's called the bucket strategy. I want to help organize their investments based on when they'll need the money. This starts on page 23 from my free Tax Smart Retirement Assessment example on my website. You can download and get access to that. Thinking about these 3 buckets, we want to choose a stock and bond mix that works with their financial plans. We want to look at their income plan and then back into an investment allocation that makes sense for them. So let's talk briefly about these 3 buckets. Bucket number 1, savings and money market. This is cash, probably in some kind of a money market or high yield saving account. Clients typically like between 6 to 24 months of expenses, depending on what they have on the horizon. It's a true preservation of capital. There's no principal at risk with these investments. It can serve as a bit of an emergency fund. And I like this. It creates some, I call it discipline insurance. When markets are bumping up and down, having a nice chunk of cash on hand can create a kind of stability and confidence to let the investments ride and do their thing. Now, the balances that you'll see here are an example from the case study. What's right for you might be different. But I'll read this. Having enough money available for unexpected expenditures allows our money in the other buckets, which we'll talk about, to work uninterrupted. So if that's bucket number 1, bucket number 2 is what I call your war chest of cash and bonds. Clients typically like between 3 to 7 years of income in these short-term, high-quality bond instruments. They provide some protection in a market crash. They can help to track inflation. And this is critical. There's easy access to the money. We'll talk about why. And rebalancing. When stocks are down, it gives us a chance to buy some of them at a reduced cost. I'll read this here. We can't predict when or where the next bad market will hit. But guys, we know it's coming. When, not if, markets go down, we want to have, just in this example, between 3 to 7 years of income ready in retirement. So what? So that you can continue to pull the income you need without needing to sell our stocks at a significant loss. So that's bucket number 2. And your risk preference might be a little bit different. And that's where we can back into this number, which finally brings us to bucket number 3. This is page 27. Diversified stocks. We want to think not just about protecting the short-term income need like in buckets 1 and 2, the next handful of years. But we also want to ensure we've protected your long-term income need against inflation and an erosion of your purchasing power. So this bucket, we want to capture market growth. Again, protect your purchase power, diversify, and commit to rebalancing. I'll read this. Running out of money is never an option. And with your short-term income need protected, owning a diversified portfolio of long-term stocks can help us overcome inflation and help to make sure we have income 10 plus years from today. So why does this work? Well, a structured plan like this helps you manage what's called sequence of returns risk. The danger of experiencing poor market performance early in retirement. Imagine a retiree who started pulling money from their portfolio right as the market dropped. Without a cash or a bond buffer, they'd be forced to sell stocks at a loss. But with a well funded war chest, they'd have the opportunity to potentially ride out the downfall without derailing their plan. Now, imagine two retirees. Put yourself in their shoes, Mark and Susan. They both retired at the same time in the same year, just before a major market downturn. Now, Mark had worked with an advisor to clearly define his income plan. He had structured his investments using a war chest of cash and bonds, ensuring that he has 3 to 7 years of income set aside from day one in his war chest to navigate a bad market. Susan, on the other hand, had an 80-20 stock to bond mix because that's, well, what her wealthy friend did. But she hadn't really considered why that mix worked for her friend's situation and whether it would fit her own income needs. And without this critical context, when markets dropped, she panicked. She moved things to cash, missing the subsequent recovery, locking in the losses. The one critical mistake a retiree needs to avoid. Now, which of these two do you think had more confidence and peace of mind in retirement as they navigated a bad market? Which brings me to plan number 3, your tax plan. Keeping more of what you've earned. Most people just think about avoiding taxes altogether. And let's be honest, they're not very fun. They're complicated. They can feel overwhelming. For me, it's like when I have a car issue. I just shut down. I do not want to deal with it. It is not my thing. But here's the thing. I know that ignoring my car problems will only make them worse and probably more expensive later. And the same is true for taxes in retirement. I promise you, a little bit of hard work on your tax plan now could make a massive impact long term. So I want to speak to the 3 major tax pitfalls that I see people deal with in retirement. The first is the forced tax bill or required minimum distributions. Now, the IRS has a rule. Once you hit a certain age, they force you to start withdrawing from your tax-deferred accounts, whether you need the money or not. Well, what's the problem? These required withdrawals get bigger every year and can force you into a higher tax bracket, leading to a bigger tax bill and possibly higher Medicare costs. Well, how then do you fix that? Well, you need an income plan that's well-defined, that equips you to think ahead. Perhaps a well-planned strategy like a Roth conversion or spreading withdrawals over multiple years could help you stay in a lower tax bracket. So this is on page 14 of my Tax Smart Retirement Assessment. This is looking at a Roth conversion example. Now, the details for your situation would obviously look different, but it helps illustrate the point. This is a look at the various tax brackets here. And it looks at the total ordinary income tax bracket. And these charts here are the amount that this client would have over time. Well, what happens right around age 73, their mid 70s, 75, their tax bracket starts to spike. Not because they necessarily need that income, but because they have RMDs kicking in, forcing withdrawals higher and higher. Well, the idea here is for a Roth conversion, and we'll go into more detail in another video. What if we intentionally front load some of those taxes? What could that do? If we cover some taxes early when our tax bracket is lower than it is up here, we actually could have the opportunity to save some taxes. So in this example, a Roth conversion up to the 12% bracket, when possible, is estimated to save just over $220,000 in taxes over the lifetime of their plan, resulting in just under $1.5 million more for having been proactive in their early years. Now, it's a very high-level example, but these are the kinds of things you'd want to be thinking about as far as your tax plan. So tax trap number 2 is not thinking about tax-efficient withdrawals. And the order really does matter. Now, taking money out of your accounts in the wrong way can lead to more taxes than is necessary. Here's the big mistake: pulling too much from the wrong places, triggering a higher tax bill. Now, here's the typical withdrawal strategy that works well for people. It's first tapping into their taxable accounts, then pulling from their tax deferred accounts while letting the Roth IRAs or the Roth money grow tax free for as long as possible. Now, caveat: maybe that's right for you, maybe it's not. And I hope you're starting to see how your income plan, your investment plan, how much money is in each of these different tax buckets, they all really do work together and have to exist in tandem. I actually had a client scenario recently where their optimal withdrawal sequence was actually taxable, then Roth, then pre-tax, due to some of the basis in some taxable assets they had, some Roth conversions we're planning on. So it's important to be thinking about these things from a holistic perspective. Number three, the third tax trap I want to talk about is the Social Security and Medicare tax trap, the hidden costs of higher income. Now, many retirees don't realize that their Social Security benefits can be taxed up to 85% if their income crosses certain limits. That's one thing you want to be aware of. On top of that, earning too much income can actually trigger a Medicare IRMA surcharge, IRMMA, income related monthly adjustment amount, meaning you pay higher Medicare premiums than the base rate you may see online or other places. It's critical to be strategic with your withdrawals to keep your taxable income lower by pulling from the right accounts, helping you avoid these extra costs. So let's bring this all together. At the end of the day, retirement is about enjoying your life, not stressing out over surprise tax bills. And the best part is you really don't have to become a tax expert to make smart moves. And I've seen a little bit of planning for clients go a long way, whether it's structuring withdrawals in the right order, managing RMDs, or keeping your taxable income below certain brackets. A proactive tax plan helps you keep more of what you've earned. So as you think about your retirement plan, ask yourself, am I being intentional about taxes, or am I just hoping for the best? Because hope is not a strategy, but a smart tax plan definitely is. And having a smart tax plan is just one piece of the puzzle. Having a clear income plan, a well-structured investment strategy, and a proactive approach, by doing so, you set yourself up for financial confidence in retirement. At the end of the day, retirement isn't just about money, it's about freedom. Freedom to spend time with family, travel, pick up new hobbies, and live with purpose. And by putting these three plans in place, here's what they do. They don't just secure your finances. They actually buy yourself the peace of mind to focus on what truly matters in life.